Well, that's also like the problem with Bleed Out is that they released Training Montage as a single, which made me think that it was going to be like a way more rockin' album than it was.
Yeah. Yep. Hard agree. I still like that album.
I do too.
It wasn't what I expected it to be.
I mean, Training Montage is the best Mountain Goats song since Transcendental Youth. Is that a crazy thing to say?
That might be a little bit of a wild take. I would maybe say a couple of things on Beat the Champ are better than it. But it's
okay.
Up there.
Sorry, I forgot that Beat the Champ was after Transcendental Youth. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, that's valid. The only reason I know that is because that was when I got on the Mountain Goats train. Was Beat the Champ.
It was for me too, so I should have known. But I didn't go. This thing I did for some. I was so sporadic in what I was like, which Goats records I went back to, that like I didn't hear like. I remember one of the first times we hung out, I was like, I've never heard Transcendental Youth, and you were just like, what are you crazy?
How is this possible?
Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music through the lens of our favorite artists' discographies. I'm Troy Sennett.
And I'm Matt Kistler.
And today we're doing one of our kind of one-off palate cleanser episodes. We are going to talk about a band that has only released one album, probably only will ever release one album, if I had to guess. And that band is Boxcar Racer. This was Tom DeLonge's side project from the Tom DeLonge of Blink-182. I assume you know that if you're listening to this show, maybe not. But this was a side project of his after Blink-182's Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Their album came out in May of 2002, produced by Jerry Finn, like a lot of the Blink stuff was. This album came up in conversation at a show the other day with some friends. And our friend Jeff said that it was the best Blink side project or best like Blink related project. I had never heard the whole album. Matt, did you have like a history with this album or with Boxcar Racer? Or I guess we can just kind of talk about Blink generally too.
Oh, sure. No, I mean, this album specifically, I absolutely loved. I was like very on this kind of from day one. I got introduced to Blink-182 around the Enema of the State era, like shortly before Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. But so I was already really on the Blink train. So I was kind of down for whatever any of the members of that band had coming out. We were talking just before we started officially about the Transplants album that also came out around this time, which features Travis Barker and several other folks from the kind of greater punk sphere. Which I also liked quite a lot. But they released more than one album, so we're not talking about them today. I liked this album a lot when it came out. It was I was kind of thinking about this earlier, and like in reflecting on it, I'm like, this feels like it reminds me of my specific brand of teen angst even more than like listening to MCR does. And that might be more because this album is just like mostly angst and not a lot else in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And obviously we'll get into that more with the songs. I kind of dug the like kind of darker I don't want to say edgier, but the word edgier was thrown around a lot in the press around this album, so that's kind of what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the stated purpose of the album or the band from Tom's perspective is he wanted to pursue like quote darker ideas that didn't fit in with Blink. So I have to ask then, I think that Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, which I guess this album kind of forms out of the somewhat contentious recording sessions around that album and Tom wanting to do something that he felt like wouldn't work in Blink, or he felt like he was, unable to put certain ideas forward. Take Off Your Pants and Jacket has Stay Together for the Kids, which is, I would say, a darker song for Blink. Am I crazy out of line to say that's like one of the best, if not the best, Blink-182 song?
It's a great song. I don't think you're out of line at all.
But it does a lot of the things that this album is trying to do, but 10 times better. And so like as I'm like I was going back and listening to some Blink stuff both before and after the Boxcar Racer album, and like obvious and so the sort of narrative around this album is that like Tom tries all this stuff, makes this record, has like a big falling out with Mark Hoppus, who then also guests on a song on this album, but it ultimately it leads to the sound change on Blink's Untitled record, which has songs like Obvious, like you pointed out in our text chat, that just sound like straight off of the Boxcar Racer record.
My kind of reading on it, like, and I, as has been kind of exposed throughout this entire podcast, the research I was doing on bands that I was listening to back in the day was basically nil. If I knew who was in the band, it was good enough for me for the most part. So I didn't know a lot about like what brought this record about. It kind of seems like a lot of the propagating events were kind of, what you were saying about the recording sessions for Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Tom apparently was suffering from like a herniated disc. He was like not sure at a certain point if he was like really gonna be able to tour the way that he had been. And this record like was written right around when 9/11 happened, and Blink canceled their Euro tour kind of partially as a side effect of that. And I guess it just kind of like the way that they were telling it in the press cycle, and I'm sure there was more to it than what was actually presented, was just kind of like, we had this kind of fortuitous in ways, but not so much in others, like break, where it felt like this was the only time we could do this. I feel like a lot of elements from this record are borrowed writ large in Blink-182's self-titled album. There's so much of that, like, kind of darker tinged, like, phased guitar stuff, like even more so than they were doing, previously. And frankly, like that's one of their most popular albums to date now. So like, I feel like kind of working out some of the like kinks on this album might have made that album better.
I understand this as like a way to work out a certain amount of or a certain type of angst about where Tom is at in his life at this point. And I think this also kind of greater Gen X angst about the world changing so suddenly with 9/11. Like, I think that's, those narratives you can't like excise from this record. Part of my problem with this album is I just don't like it a whole lot. It feels very like some of it is this kind of, it feels like a lot of teen angst, and he's in his mid-20s. It feels like kind of underwritten to a degree. Like I as noticing as I'm going through these songs that like none of these songs have lyrics in the bridge, and I love a good bridge, and this album just will not give me one. And it
gives you very long ones at that.
Yeah, they're long instrumental bridges, but like I just found myself wanting a little bit more out of every song on the album, which then leads to wanting a lot more out of the album.
Yeah, and I kind of told you this in the pre-show talk that like I listened to this the other day, and I was like, yeah, this record's still pretty good. Like I still vibe with this. This is exactly how I remember it being. And then like going through and like doing my notes and like actually having to think harder about these songs, 9 times out of 10, that gives me a greater appreciation for what's going on. I was like, wow, this record has way less going on than I thought it did.
Yeah.
Especially lyrically. Like a lot of these songs have just kind of copy pasted, verse chorus situations, like almost comically so in some cases.
Yeah, but this has always been the thing with Tom DeLonge, and I will give him this as a credit. No matter how silly or inane his lyrics are, I think he has like a really earnest delivery that sells the emotion really well. I think that's why he's in a hugely popular band. Whether he is able to actually sing those songs live or whatever is, a question and kind of beside the point. But, even on the songs, and I'm like, do we like... I wish there was more going on here as a song. What he's doing vocally like usually works for me, even so. So I think that I will give him that credit.
Yeah. did you? I found kind of some of the narrative around this band in general to be kind of interesting because they really seemed to want it to be like kind of a fresh start for everybody, even though Tom and Travis are obviously mega famous at this point.
Yeah, well, we haven't mentioned Travis Barker yet, who Tom recruits to play on the album, which he says is, I just didn't want to pay a studio drummer, so I called my friend, who is also, the most highly regarded drummer in the world, basically, or at least in punk, to play on it. And I guess he knocked out drums in one day, which I have some things to say about later. Yeah, it ends up feeling okay. This is a better way to put this. I had heard Blink before this. I had some songs on like No, That's What I Call Music compilations or whatever. But really, by the time I'm super into pop punk or getting really into music and like actually caring about whole albums or whatever, Blink had already put out Untitled. And so I basically know Blink as the band that's capable of making something that sounds like Untitled. And so I didn't have the experience or the context of this being a big departure. And I think that's part of what makes it land a little lukewarm for me.
I think that's totally fair. Coming at it in reverse definitely does not help for sure. Yeah.
And then I have to add one other thing and this is a bit of a confession, not a huge Travis Barker fan.
That's fine. I
think he's a very, very busy drummer, which works sometimes. And but I don't think what he's doing really serves a lot of these songs. And it also feels like more than one, maybe like 4 or 5 of these songs are just like he played a few bars and they looped it, which is a fine way to build a song. But it comes across as like it makes some of the songs just feel like not as much a band. Which I think this project is kind of torn between like solo project and band.
It kind of is. And I mean that Tom mentioned in that like kind of little DVD thing that he was like, yeah, this was originally just going to be like an acoustic, like emo core type thing. I have no idea what the hell he meant by that, by the way.
It was his emo side project.
Sure, his acoustic emo side project that he then turned into a full band, and to good effect sometimes. I would love to hear what the original version would have sounded like, though.
Yeah, I'd rather hear the emo core version of this band, I think.
Yeah, I find it a little funny that they kind of in their efforts to I guess kind of keep some mystique around this band. I don't know. They played a show before they put out the record. And I guess the reception was incredibly lukewarm because people came out to see Tom and Travis's new band, and they got this. And it was, it kind of sounds like it's kind of what Tom feared would have happened if they had put out these songs as Blink-182 songs, which, like, interestingly, I don't think we're going to talk about this because I didn't realize this until today. The song "Terrified" on One More Time was a Boxcar Racer song.
Yeah, I knew that because I knew that they had sort of toyed with reviving the project during the Matt Skiba years, the Matt Skiba Blink years. Yeah,
I just, it was interesting to find that out, and like I think that song's pretty good. I don't know. I don't think it was of this era necessarily. It was probably a like.
Yeah, it's like 2016 or whatever, that time when they were doing when Tom was out of the band again.
Right, yeah. But yeah, I get one of the quotes that I pulled from the Kerrang interview that Tom and like some of the other members of the band did was, "Boxcar is not a one-off deal, I hope." Whoops. Well, yikes.
But so I guess there's kind of two sides to that. So, or two things about that is in the DVD, Travis is like, oh, we could just do this every year, but under a different name, which is kind of a funny idea.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, Boxcar Racer turns into Angels and Airwaves ultimately. After
more or less,
when Blink like breaks up after the Untitled record, because David Kennedy, who plays on this record, would go on to play in Angels and Airwaves. Obviously, right. Travis Barker isn't in Angels and Airwaves, and that's why it's not Boxcar Racer. But you could make the argument that we should have just, done an Angels and Airwaves series and saved this album to be in that. But they're different band names and different projects. I like that first Angels and Airwaves record, and I don't think I've ever heard a single other thing they've done.
I couldn't name a single Angels and Airwaves song. I know I have listened to that band before, but I never got super into them. And I will probably eat my hat at some point and go, God, this was amazing. Why'd I miss out on this?
Just go hit play on The Adventure. That song is like defined what delayed guitar leads would sound like for a decade straight. It's a great song.
All right. Yeah, all right. That checks out. It was just kind of striking to me that like that was specifically a thing that he said, and we are now here doing this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, like it, but yeah, to your point, like yeah, this did kind of in many ways morph into Angels and Airwaves. Like really, like when you look at it, this project was always this is the stuff that Tom wants to do that he doesn't feel fits in Blink-182, and like in a lot of ways, forcibly or otherwise, that's kind of what Angels and Airwaves is too. So like all of that is in the spirit of this project.
Right. It's just this one. This is the one that actually directly changed what Blink-182 could do, which is why it's kind of a significant and interesting record. I think probably the meta narrative around it is more interesting to me than most of the songs.
Yeah, that's completely fair.
Yeah, but we should talk about the songs.
Let's do it.
This album starts off with I Feel So, which was also the lead single. This is just kind of, I mean, it is striking to go from most of what's on, or what you know Blink-182 as, to go to a song like this, which has this sort of grungy intro and it maybe less so grunge and maybe more influenced by like a lot of the sort of post-hardcore bands that were getting bigger in the 90s, whether that's like a very, very cleaned up At the Drive-In or like a Quicksand or something like that. I think are kind of the reference points there. And it has this kind of nice, the verses have this nice like acoustic guitar led thing that the band kind of chugs around. What do you think of this song?
I still kind of like this song. It's not, there's not, I kind of alluded to this earlier. There's not a ton going on lyrically, but like I do feel like the kind of textures and feels that they're playing with on this song are super fun. And I think it is kind of a cool melding because like Tom talks about like, oh yeah, like the main influences for this like record as a whole are like bands that I've been listening to a long time, like Fugazi and Refused, and I forget the like third touch point that he mentioned, but like
it might be Quicksand.
It probably is Quicksand. But they like this song does feel a little bit like a melding of all those things. Like I don't think it quite reaches the height. I definitely know that it doesn't reach the heights that any of those bands reached. But like it feels like a good approximation of like what being influenced by those bands sounds like when you're Thomas DeLonge, as was stated in the press materials.
Okay, him comparing this to Fugazi is just the exact same thing as like Anthony and Joe Russo comparing the like Avengers or like what the Captain America movie to the Parallax View. It's like
oh my god,
the peak like director bullshit. That's very funny. I hadn't thought of that until right now, but that is
that's good.
Yes, this has nothing on Ian MacKaye. Sorry, Tom DeLonge.
Oh god. No, Nobody does. Literally every band that says they're influenced by Fugazi will not be as good as Fugazi. That's just kind of how it is.
Yeah. But I do actually like one of the lyrical things in the song, which is the way that the verses are structured around like, I wish I was a certain way. I wish things were like this. And the verses or in the choruses are just this like, this present tense, like this is how it is. And there's no getting around that, no matter what you wish for.
Yeah, this is a very distilled version of I feel like this kind of concept of the kind of tension between the way things are and the way you want things to be is pretty pervasive throughout this album. So like in that way, it works really well as an opener. But like kind of to the point of like talking about how the bridges all have no lyrics on these songs. This intro is almost a full minute and a half long on this 4.5 minute track, and it does not need to be like that. The riff goes hard, I will give it that, but it doesn't go that hard. And there's a lot of like kind of just guitar fuckery on this song that like feels like it was kind of improv on the spot, like all the feedback stuff.
I mean, that stuff's cool.
It is cool. It is cool. It's just like, you know, this song could be maybe a full minute shorter, and I don't think it would be any less effective.
I didn't remember. Is there like a radio edit version? Because there's a music video for this. It was the single.
Yeah, I think there was.
Well, yeah, because they probably just cut out the piano intro or something like that. But so Tom co-directs the music video, which he just describes as meant to sum up what the band is all about, which I guess is the band playing in a room with lots of graffiti. It's when you hear that and you're like, I wonder what this could be. Maybe he has some grand vision, and then the video is a pretty basic music video. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where like the other quote that I did not mention earlier about kind of this band in general is, well, I guess this album in particular, is Tom in that Kerrang interview describes this as the best thing that he's ever done, and I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Everyone says that. Like, I wonder if he would say that now.
That's what I'm interested in is like what.
I mean, I think he's genuinely proud of the Angels and Airwaves stuff, and he seems that seems to be his what he believes is his true like life's work is the project of Angels and Airwaves. And I would imagine that he would say now that the more recent stuff for that band is the best thing he's done. I don't really trust any artist who says their new album is the best thing they've done. They have to say that. It would be interesting to hear someone just say like, I put this thing out, but it sucks. And you hear that like a decade on all the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think that's kind of more what I meant to get at is like, it feels like when you talk about like, you kind of wonder what the grand vision was for this. Like he feels like he does get to that in Angels and Airwaves. And it's very interesting to like contrast that band with this band because it feels like that's what he wanted from this. And I don't think they quite got there, especially not on this video, which is, it's fine. There's a young girl crying in it. Also is the only other element.
A lot of slow motion.
Occasionally, a lot of slow motion, a lot of like jump cuts of people being around different parts of a room. It's fine. I remember liking it a lot when I was younger, and now I'm like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Next up is All Systems Go. Similarly to I Feel So, opens with kind of a really big riff and has a little bit of a cleaner verse. Just kind of the structure that they basically follow for most of this record. This one is about the government keeping alien abductions a secret, maybe.
Oh no, I think this one's supposed to be about 9/11. Actually,
maybe. I
who can say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is just kind of in general about the losing trust in the systems that sort of make the world run. I think is the main theme. I just think that whenever I hear Tom say that the whole first verse, I just feel like it's a little alien abduction coded, which is like pretty normal for him.
Oh yeah. Those lights out by the station. I wonder what that could possibly be about.
Yeah. What do you think of this one?
I mostly enjoy this song. Like obviously hearing Tom DeLonge straight up say the government is lying back in 2002 was very strong for me.
Your political awakening.
15-year-old. Yeah, no, definitely not.
Prime due for revolutions per minute.
God. Listen, I remember distinctly a thing I said about Paris in Flames, Autobiography of a Nation, back in one of our early episodes, where I was like, that song should have radicalized me. This one definitely did not at all. I can assure you of that. I don't know. This one's like you said, very structurally similar to I Feel So. Like I remember this song pretty distinctly because it was the second song on the record that I listened to a lot, but like, I don't know that there's a lot that stands out about it, although the chorus is really, really catchy.
It is.
And I do like the chorus a lot.
I like that it changes for the final chorus and you get a slightly triumphant moment, which this album is really suffused with like angst and existential dread, like we've talked about. So it's nice to get like one slightly looking up feeling. I don't know. It's one of those things where it feels like it doesn't have quite this. It's not quite mired in the same angst as the rest of the record.
Yeah. I think that's a very apt thing to point out. And like, again, we don't get a lot of that, so we got to cling on to it where we can. Yeah,
it's a little bit more of a like you can do something about it song than some of the other places they go on this one.
You have to make the effort, but it is possible, which is a theme we've touched on many times before.
Yeah. Next up is Watch the World. This is the one that I think is directly about 9/11, right?
Yeah, that and Elevator, I think, are the two like big time ones.
Yeah, I have a whole different take on Elevator, but which I'm sure is not an original thing. But yeah, so this I think it is directly grappling with kind of the way the world changed after 9/11, and then is the back half of the song is sort of this dream of the way that things could be better, and I don't know, I guess there's this element of like connecting over vast distances after like a world-ending catastrophe, which I think is, that feeling makes sense with the rest of the song.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, yeah, this we kind of touched on this in the first song. Like that, this is another song about kind of the tension between the way you wish things were and the way things actually are, and your ability to affect any change within that. And like, of course, this is like, the whole like first third of this song is framed as like these like I'm seeing these glorious things, and then I wake up and it was a dream, like, because of course.
Yeah. This is, I think by this point in the album, I'm making notes of like, man, Travis is doing the marching snare thing a lot.
Yeah, the like roll with some flams in it type thing that I'm sure is an actual rudiment. Sorry, Dan, for not remembering. But
yeah, and I think it's just a thing that he's good at. It's one of his tricks, and it's just they deploy it often on this album to the point where I started noticing
so
kind of
much.
Like the instrumental bridges. I'm like, oh, he's kind of doing this. Not only is there also no lyrics in this bridge, it's also doing a similar drum thing. And yeah, by this point in the album, I'm like, I wonder if they'll change it up at all. They don't really.
They don't. He doesn't, at least.
Yeah.
But
yeah. After that is Tidy Voices. This is very much a song about anxiety. Basically telling you that you will be a failure.
Yep.
This is what this feels like something that could have just straight up been on a Blink album.
Yeah.
Again, maybe it's my like coming to them in later as a fan perspective, but nothing about this song feels like a big departure.
Yeah, I don't like. Yeah, this would have easily. I think this would have easily fit on self-titled at very least. Self-titled, untitled, whatever it's actually called. But like, yeah, I think if they put this out as like a single, from like the Take Off Your Pants and Jacket era, it might have been a little off. But like, more or less, yeah, like not exactly touching on subject matter that they haven't breached before as a band. There are several Blink songs about anxiety, as it were. But yeah, I don't know. I think the song is pretty neat, and that might be a large part of it. Again, the chorus on this one like really hits pretty well. The like big like elongated tiny voices bit is always fun. I kind of like the way that everything is arranged around the everybody will be let down parts. That's like some of the more interesting like drum interjections that are happening here.
Yeah, especially
I don't know.
And when they do the like scratchy guitar riff thing.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. I like, and maybe I'm giving, I don't know if I'm giving a little too much credit to the writing here. Maybe I'm not. He's not like an untalented writer, I guess. But the way that the everybody will be let down like turns into like a passive voice construction that like it's not, it's sort of implying that, oh, it's everybody will be let down, but it's not like he's not phrasing it as like I'm letting everybody down. It's more of a like everything is out of my control, which is I think thematically relevant to the album. Whether that was the intentional in the way that that line is written or not, I don't know.
I have an odd feeling that it was written that way for fitting in the cadence of the song.
Yes, that too.
Purposes, but also I think it does work on that front.
Yeah.
This one weirdly is like I think the one song where the bridge has words and also
right. It does.
like kind of muted sounding conversation getting panned between your ears, which is kind of cool. Gives it almost like a field recording type of feel. But like, I don't know. What do you think is going on in this bridge? Because the bridge is use your voices, which like I kind of took as a turn to like, again, like kind of a like the turn that freaking what's it called? Watch the World takes at the end. Like I don't know. I don't know if it's like actually like trying to like invert kind of the message of the song thus far, or like what's going on here.
Yeah, I think I would take it as like you said, an inversion of the choruses, like tiny voices make things harder, but like then use them to understand what you're struggling with and better yourself. Like that makes sense as a perspective for the song.
Yeah.
Next up is Cat Like Thief. This song features Tim Armstrong of Rancid doing something that I do not understand, which I guess is like reggae rapping. What is going on with this song? Can you explain it to me?
I might be able to. So like, yes, I think is kind of the answer to your question, because he is specifically credited as Tim Timebomb on this song. And Tim Timebomb was like his very like reggae, old school ska, like influenced like solo stuff, I want to say. I'm probably letting all my punk friends down by like fully misdescribing this, but like that is the vibe that the Tim Timebomb moniker gives off, as opposed to Rancid Tim Armstrong, where he kind of does a similar thing but more punk. It's I don't like the feature on this song. I don't understand why Tim Armstrong is on this fucking record, aside from he is every like West Coast punk's hero, and if you can get him on your record, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I don't think it adds anything though. It's an okay song to begin with, and I feel like it gets kind of dragged down by like his kind of nonsense lyrics. The like 2x2, 3x3, 4x4. Let's do some more.
It sounds like he's freestyling, which he probably was.
It really does. Probably.
Yeah,
I'd buy that.
And this is the first song on here that I noted that feels like it's constructed out of loops, which is fine, and it's something they do a handful of times on this album. I would have just cut this song. I don't think it's very good.
Yeah, it could have been a B-side, I guess. Like I don't know. Even Tom's parts aren't that good. Like,
right. It feels like either a totally different project or just something that you shelve. It's an experiment that doesn't land at all. Yeah.
Something that was interesting to me around like kind of looking briefly at like people's opinions on this album is that a lot of people describe this album as like a return to like straight up punk for Tom DeLonge, and other people are like, oh yeah, this is like a really big like experimental thing, and I don't buy either of those things. I don't think it's something in between.
It's like, I mean, it's pretty obviously like my tastes have changed. I'm in my 20s and my mid 20s and reevaluating my life, and I want to make something that feels more true to the quote unquote more mature or like older music that I've been into. Like, and that taste. I mean, his tastes are probably pretty wide ranging. Maybe he's listening to a lot of like reggae and dub stuff along with all the post hardcore stuff and I'm sure, or some older punk, and like all those things are elements of this album, and it feels. In a way, it feels very like it's trying to, it doesn't want to choose a lane. Like, because, and I imagine if you ask Tom DeLonge about this at the time, or maybe even now, he would say that, yeah, all these things, all these like puzzle pieces were part of what I was listening to and what was kind of, reconstructing my identity around as I'm getting older. And like, but I think just as an act of curation, the pieces don't all fit together, and maybe that's part of the idea. Is like, here's all these different sides of me that are not the side of myself that I've shown in Blink for a decade.
Yeah, that makes sense.
At least that's how I read it. Next up is "And I." This is a song, I guess, about like the uncertainty of a relationship, a pretty well trodden pop punk theme. And this song, I think, actually kind of brings in more of the pop punk elements than the rest of the album has. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I don't have a lot written down about this song, because like there are several like romantic relationship type songs on this record, and I think there are maybe the worst songs on the record. The one before this, notwithstanding, which I guess is also kind of about that. I I wrote down that this song sounds like it's the anti-Josie, not to like, again, re-relate this to Blink, but it's kind of impossible not to.
The whole project is in conversation with Blink. There's no getting around that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like, I don't know. Like, again, we get a quarter of the song as an intro, and it's not that long of a song. So like, it's, you know, it feels less half-baked than some of the other tracks on this record, but like, there's not much to like grab onto here. Like hearing Tom say I want her, need her, like, of course that's going to be catchy because that's like a thing Tom knows how to do, but like beyond that,
yeah, the chorus has like a solid melody. It's like, it's catchy, but I don't have a lot of more like depth from the song.
Yeah, pretty much same, honestly.
Yeah. After that is Letters to God, which this is like a pretty much early halfway for the first half of the song is an acoustic, just a acoustic guitar and Tom feeling like kind of what he envisioned the project as originally. A song about a person facing death and regretting they didn't do more with their life. This one actually does feel substantially different than something that Blink would do, and it fits in with this kind of maturing, thinking a lot more about the existential dread of your place in life or whatever, like that feels like it's all around this album.
Yeah, stuff that you grapple with for a long portion of your life, I imagine, but stuff you like really start grappling with in like your mid-20s. Like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the more interesting tracks on the album. Maybe as a result of that, like this feels thematically different from a lot of the other stuff on the record. It like you said, it feels pretty in line with what appears to have been the original vision of this project. I think there's some record scratching going on in the background in like the right ear, which is very odd. Like, it's very like coated in reverb, but I think that's what it is. That, or it's like some white noise. I don't know. Probably a Jerry Finn edition, or not a Jerry Finn edition.
Well, and then
can say?
The bridge in the song is one of the cooler moments on the album in terms of arrangement, because there's like a piano thing going on, and then like strings or some kind of high synth stuff. It really builds in a cool way and then like the full band comes in with this pretty heavy ending that I think works better than a lot of the other heavy moments on the album.
Yeah, that full band turn is maybe one of my favorite things here, honestly. It doesn't come out of nowhere, because you do kind of have that kind of build that happens, on top of the largely acoustic front, like 2/3 of the song. But like it hits, and like it catches me off guard almost every time still.
Yeah, I find it to be a fairly affecting song. This is definitely probably my top 3 on the album.
Definitely, yeah. And again, chorus melody, incredibly catchy, despite its subject matter.
Yep. Then next up is my first punk song, which is like the polar opposite of Letters to God. Just this fast, silly, like kind of nihilistic, messy punk song. Which, if you're looking at the album as like here's all the sides of Tom's personality, like this is one of them. And
sure, yeah,
that's about the only justification I can come up with for this song. I don't love this one. What do you think of it?
So I did love this song when it came out, and that's probably because it sounded like basically a Blink like B-side. Like this would not go on a Blink album proper. I don't know why it's here. Beyond the aforementioned, if we're talking about all sides of Tom DeLonge here, this is definitely one of them. Well, a song where he says he's got no dick. Like come on.
Okay, so you don't think this would fit at all on a Blink record?
I think this would be a secret track on a Blink record, maybe.
So I agree with you, and the reason I'm asking is to me this feels like a Blink song written with like just no heart at all, and the sort of, I guess, charitable guess I can make about this song is that it's sort of intentionally what Blink sounds like to Tom when his heart isn't in it, because he wants to be doing all this other stuff that he feels like he can't do, and this is what Blink sounds like to him, in his head, because it is become just like a soulless thing that he just has to do.
Yeah, this is a punk band that writes songs about fucking dogs and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. It's also like the production on this song is like markedly different from anything else on the record too. The drums are dead.
It sounds very garagey.
Yeah. This song sounds like it was thrown together at the last minute, and it maybe might have been. Yeah, I don't know. Like, but I think your point about it possibly being, or most likely, honestly, being a like this is what it feels like to be in Blink at the worst times. It just being like this kind of thing that you don't have your heart in anymore, that Tom doesn't have his heart in anymore. I will say the only highlighted lines in the Genius annotation for this are "I got no dick," and the note is his penile member is still unaccounted for on the second iteration of it, which I found funnier than the entire song.
Yeah.
So that's fun. But yeah, calling it my first punk song does feel pretty self-fulfilling on this one, and I see the ways in which it does work, but overall, like, I don't know, man, I could do without it.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think I agree with that. After that is Sorrow. This one is another kind of relationship song. I think this is a better one than And I. But the thing I hear most in this song is a lot of Jimmy Eat World influence, which very welcome to my ears. And obviously, Tom DeLonge is a massive Jimmy Eat World fan. I believe they played his wedding. Is the story that I remember reading in some interview a long time ago, that he had them play the song Episode 4 at his wedding, which is cool. Would have happily had that done that as well if I was friends with Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah, that would be the operative thing there.
Yeah. Kind of the only thing I don't really like about this song is just how repetitive and drawn out the chorus gets. But I hear the Jimmy Eat World influence in there, and I like that, and I respect it.
Yeah, I was kind of grappling with myself, like, why do I remember this song so distinctly? Because, like, by all accounts, it's pretty bog standard for like what we've heard so far. But I think the big ass chorus is like the thing that stands out to me, and I think that Jimmy Eat World influence is a big part of that.
Yeah, I don't have a ton else on it, but I'm just like, now I'm hearing it in my head, and I think I like it more in my head than I did like listening to it a couple times today.
That's valid. There's that drum outro that's like a different thing than Travis Barker has been doing this entire time, and then it just gets like unceremoniously faded out. Just when you think it might go someplace, because it kind of doesn't. I don't understand why any of that happens if that's what they were going to do with it.
It's kind of it's another one of those things that made me wonder, like, well, if he did just track all the drums in a day, and then did they just kind of like chop them up to build the songs around that if the songs weren't entirely written? I would like to know more about that process.
Yeah, same.
After that is There Is. This was the second single, though it was the first song written for the band when it was an acoustic project. I think this is sort of the defining song for Boxcar Racer. I think this is the one that has really endured, and the song that most people think of when they think of this band. Maybe I'm wrong about that. This is definitely the song.
It seems to be their biggest song. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the one that I had heard years and years ago when I came up on this record. I was like, oh yeah, this is the one. It's a very like nostalgic lament about, young love and how you can't ever get it back once it's gone. I just think that this song is pretty wonderful. I think.
Yeah, I got to the song and I was like, I know this song is another one that's like about lamenting a relationship, but like the lyric writing here is so much more fleshed out and like specific than anything else on. Maybe not anything else on this record, but most of everything else on this record.
Definitely more than anything else on this record. You're right. It's the specificity. Great. It's the imagery. There's a lot of lyrics and there's a lot of words squeezed into a line, which feels like a thing he's good at and is kind of not doing elsewhere on this record. Yeah.
This song makes the other songs feel half-baked, I think is maybe that's
exactly it.
A good and bad thing about this song.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that there's tricks that they overuse on this album, like the marching snare thing, or the acoustic guitar to make something sound plaintive or whatever, and like everything that they try that only kind of works or it feels overdone elsewhere on the album, it all just locks in here, and like it all lands perfectly. All the dials are like in the right place on this song.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, like there's parts of me that wonder if this, like, since this album was written in like kind of a short amount of time, like, and obviously like Tom had like some of these songs kicking around, this one specifically, I do wonder if like the kind of cornerstone songs of this record, like this one, I Feel So, and I would argue Letters to God, and maybe Elevator, like, I wonder if those songs were like kind of the archetype for all of the other stuff, and it just was maybe there wasn't time, or they didn't feel like there was enough time to like really, hammer out what this band was supposed to be, and just kind of like went with like, well, we're just going to make a somewhat of a facsimile of like what's going on here, and that's probably going to be fine.
Yeah, more a moment in time than something they developed over years or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Which, like, that's a valid way to write. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, looking at this album as a whole, like, there's 4-ish, like, probably I would say good to great songs, and the rest are more
good.
middling to bad.
Yeah,
like,
well, and yeah, it's just like any album like this where it feels like there's a big disparity. It's just frustrating to think like, oh, what if it had taken more time or whatever it was, like, what if there was just more of the thing that ruled? And
yeah, right.
What I want is more songs that are as good as there is, because I think this is a legitimately great song.
Yeah, and like this one has like, a whole bunch of like fun arrangement stuff. There's fucking timpani on this song, which obviously I love.
Yeah. Still no lyrics in the bridge, but this
still
time
no
I'll
lyrics in the
forgive it.
bridge. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It works for the most part.
It does have a pretty neat music video of the band, playing in the rain, sort of serenading recruited by a guy to serenade a girl, sort of Say Anything style. And then all the neighbors come out and yell at them while they're playing. It looked like a hellish music video to make, just being rained on for 8 hours. But this video is kind of very much the vibe that I remember from that era of like emo bands.
Oh yeah, for sure. The fun facts that I learned from that DVD is that Travis Barker did not know that he didn't read the like run of show or whatever the hell the document is that you get before you make a music video.
The video
he had no
treatment.
idea it was going to be raining. Yeah, the video treatment. He had no idea it was going to be raining, and like brought like one of his expensive cars to the set, and like just was totally unprepared to get rained on for multiple hours early in the morning.
It's very funny.
Or I guess late at night. But yeah, that's fucking funny.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, like I think this video is very fun in a way. But like, this feels better as a video than the I Feel So video for sure.
It feels like there's some awareness of the inherent like over earnest, sort of silliness of the way that this like emo expression or whatever. Like they're playing with the tropes already, and in a way that like it feels like someone like Hawthorne Heights maybe took too seriously at first, and then it takes them a while to sort of start making fun of themselves a little bit too.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that.
After that is The End With You. This is another sort of heavy rocker, very much about the looming end of the world, which I guess, goes along with the existential dread is the term I just keep coming back to on this record. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I think that's pretty apt. One thing I did note on this song, and I hate to say anything bad about anything Jerry Finn ever produced, because Jerry Finn is the greatest there ever was. Man, the bass tone on this song should have been way gnarlier, I think. Just given the subject matter of the song and kind of how heavy everything is around it, like it feels like it could have just used an extra layer of fuzz or something like that.
I don't know if I can comment on any bass tone today because I listened to that La Dispute record and the bass tone is so gnarly that I just think every album should sound like that.
Actually, that might be the actual problem here because I also am on that La Dispute tip.
The bass is, I think, kind of throughout the album is noticeably like bright and it doesn't quite have the grind that like Mark Hoppus's bass often has on the Jerry Finn stuff. And different choices, different styles, whatever. But I kind of noticed the same thing, that the bass doesn't sound as distinctive maybe when it's, I think Tom is mostly playing bass on the album.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, I think that's, I noticed the same thing and I didn't really quite know how to quantify it or what to compare it to, except that, to say again, the La Dispute bass tone rules.
Right, yeah. I will say I feel like a lot of what works for me with this song is production stuff, and it kind of made me think like, man, how much did Jerry Finn save this album? Like, I feel like a lot of the the things that I find I don't like about this album are kind of smoothed over in like more passive listens by how Jerry like works with contrast and how he like introduces certain elements to the arrangement that are like sometimes subtle, sometimes not. The drum sounds he does get out of whatever Travis Barker gave them. I feel like his fingerprints are all over this in a lot of ways, and I kind of wonder how this would have sounded in the hands of I don't want to say another producer, but like a lesser producer.
Yeah, I know. I totally know what you mean, and especially because I was kind of mentioning with some of the loopness of some of the songs, like it does feel like a lot of these were built in the studio. And I would be interested in hearing the version of this album that is, whether that's the demos or whatever, that is like, what's the band sound like playing in the room? Because I think it sounds different than what you get on the album. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would go so far as to say I think Jerry Finn saved it, but I think it's certainly a possibility.
Yeah. I don't want to like I don't want to just like be Jerry Finn, my hero. You saved this bad Tom DeLonge record. Like that's not what's going on here. Just like I kind of wonder how much to your point, I kind of want to hear the demos. I want to know like what these songs sound like when it's just a band playing them without like the ability to like, well, I mean, I guess nowadays you can just throw whatever the hell you want on anything at any given time. It's easier than it's ever been, but you know what I mean.
and Tom gives no indication that this is anything but like kind of his vision, and that Jerry Finn really helped achieve that vision. So, I think they worked together on it and worked well together by all accounts. But I do think that there is a lot of, I'll put it this way. I think he has a great ear for arrangement and production, obviously, and is able to just make things sound really good.
Oh yeah, of course.
And after that is Elevator. I keep wanting to call this the closing track. It is effectively the end of the album. It's the last like real, really like real song on the album. This one is significant, obviously, because Mark Hoppus features on it. So this is, I guess Blink wasn't broken up, so it's not really a reunion, but it's certainly the only song on this album that he participated in at all. And he, by his own admission, was very miffed that Tom recruited Travis Barker to play and didn't talk to him, and that this felt like a huge betrayal. But he does agree to feature on this song, which is about a man jumping from a building to his death, and Tom sings the first verse in first person, and then Mark sings the second verse witnessing it. I think this is, if not the band's most popular song, I think probably regarded as another one of their best songs.
Yeah, I think that's pretty true. I don't know a ton about the Boxcar Racer fandom, but yeah, that seems to check out.
The thing that I really like about the song is just like the sort of meta textualness or the meta textual idea that this is I don't know when this song was constructed or recorded as far as the order, was it near the beginning, near the end of the sessions, But to me, it feels like it's near the end of the sessions because or at least that would make sense to me, because it feels like a plea with both Mark and Tom singing the "Let's forget this all, move on." To me, it very much feels like yes, this entire project caused a lot of consternation, but let's get back to, let's take what we've learned from it and do the Blink-182 thing again. And I'm sure I'm not the first person to bring up that interpretation of the song. But it feels very, very cathartic, and especially coming after a song that really seems to engage with the idea that like we're just idly watching everything fall apart around us, and we're not really able to do anything about it. And that's like, that's really a lot of this album. And the final voice you hear on the album, or the voices, is these two guys who have like, are longtime friends and have been through all this stuff together and are sort of experiencing this, the way the world is together, to then have like a moment of like, let's actually go do something together.
Yeah.
I actually find it quite poignant.
I think it definitely is. And like, yeah, and like in the kind of press around this album, like it kind of seems like, we have gotten to that point, because Tom will continually insist like, no, like Mark is my best friend, like there's no bad blood about this. Not that there wasn't at any point, just right, there isn't anymore.
They figured it out.
We have in fact forgotten this and moved on. But yeah, like I think to the point of it being, juxtaposed against The End With You, and frankly, like even the first half of this song, like, yeah, I think that is really poignant.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It works again better than almost anything else on this record. Whether that's just that it's the Mark stuff or whatever it is, I like it a lot. It also ends with this incredible string outro that really just honestly should have been the end of the album. Yeah, it should have. Except that the last song is instrumental. Which is titled Instrumental, but like. Yeah, I mean, this just feels like the instrumental just feels like a song that was not finished and that they tacked on to the end. I don't know how else to think of it. It just kind of alternates between this sort of kind of interesting bell kit intro and then like a really heavy riff, and then it just does that again. Yeah, so it's interesting because like it seemed like based on what I saw on that DVD that they released, it seems like this was like their intro song, which like. I kind of wonder what I didn't even think to do this. Like, what if this was the first song on the album? Like, what if this was the intro to I Feel So? But the intro to I Feel So is so fucking long that it wouldn't make any sense. It worked so well as the like background music for the interviews on the DVD that I was like, is that what it was made for? It might have been. It could have been. Yeah, that's the thing, is like it feels like it's a cool idea that they had no place else to put it. So they looped it a couple times and called it a song and tacked it on to the end of the record. Which like my least fucking favorite thing is tacking things onto the end of the record, because that's the only place they can go. Right. No, your album should end with the statement that it ends with, which in this case is the end of Elevator. Yeah, exactly. Like it would make so much more sense for that to be the actual end of the album. Fucking toss this in the middle if you want like something between what fucking came before between Letters to God and My First Punk Song. Yeah, like, come on. That'd be the spot for it. But this is where it is, and I think this song is cool. I wish they'd finished it or not made it the closer. But like, yeah, it suffers for being at the end, honestly. Yeah, I agree. But it is the end of the album. It is. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we decided to talk about this one. I think it is an interesting like transitional moment in the history of Blink-182. Obviously, a very important band, and in the punk world. Like it's weird. It is weird to think that like. This is 2002. Like Thursday only has one album out. Most of the bands we've talked about are just getting started, or just about to release their kind of big breakthrough albums. And I don't know. Does do you think this album has a lot of influence nowadays? Is it just kind of the sort of forgotten bit of the Blink? Are the solo records kind of a forgotten part of the Blink mythology at this point? Now that Blink is back together again and seemingly bigger than ever.
I don't think so. It seems like there's a lot of nostalgia for this album, and that's what I have for it. Like I look back fondly on this album, and like I said, like if I throw this on in the background, I'm gonna have a pretty good time with it. But like I mean, they as well, at least as of like the last time they were touring, and maybe on this current tour, which I think starts tonight. They were playing. They had like a little medley where they did. I forget what Plus 44 song, but they did a Plus 44 song and a like segment of There Is on the One More Time tour, which I thought was pretty neat because it's like it's cool to like kind of acknowledge this like portion of time where they were in separate bands that like were inextricably tied to Blink-182 in various ways. But I feel like people still look back pretty fondly on this record, but like. In a lot of ways, like I don't know how much people would have wanted like a second record. I'm not sure. I'm sure this band has its hardcore fans, but I'm sure most of those people are also pretty satisfied with Blink being back in the form that they're in now.
Yeah, I was pulling up the set list to try to see if I could find that. They have not been doing that medley or anything on this current tour. Although I'm just looking back as of last year, they just played There Is. They played When Your Heart Stops Beating and There Is back to back.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking.
Okay, yeah, so I agree.
The big one.
That's cool that they're doing that. I mean, so you were talking about having nostalgia for this album, and obviously I didn't really have that. To me, that's I've got that for the Plus 44 record. Like that's my
sure.
Blink side project. And because that came out right around the time I was getting really into this stuff. I saw Plus 44 before I ever saw Blink. And that one is more important to me, we'll talk about that one someday too. It's another great, one album band contender for one of these palate cleanser episodes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I don't know. Any other things? Any final thoughts about the album?
I don't think so. I don't want to like come off as overly harsh on this record. It's just it was kind of striking to me how much my kind of close listen diminished the high that I was kind of riding on my passive listen.
Yeah.
But overall, like I still have fun with it. I don't want people to feel bad for like enjoying this album.
Oh
like,
no, not
I think
at all.
In a lot of ways, a lot of this album slaps. So like it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's to me it's one of those things like obviously I with no nostalgia glasses for it. To me it's one of those albums that like it's inconsistent because when it hits, it really, really hits. And then there's stuff on here that I think is really not good at all. And all those things just kind of coexist together.
One thing I do need to figure out is I know I have this on CD. I do not remember if I bought this when I was almost exclusively buying edited versions of CDs. So I'll have to find out. I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, you know what it is? I used to have the edited version. I have no idea where it went. And now I have like the regular version. But hearing the censored version of My First Punk Song is very funny.
Is it just
because
halfway blank?
It's pretty much halfway blank. Yeah. They don't do like beeps or like funny like sound effects or anything like that because this album is not that kind of thing. They just like fully remove the word. So it's just I got no. And like the song just keeps going. And I'm like, I know what he's saying. Like unquestionably, I'm not stupid. I know I'm 15, but I know what what Tom DeLonge sings about in a song like this.
Yeah.
But I'll have to see if I can dig that up. Because it would be very funny to have that available.
Definitely. All right, you got a random recommendation for this week?
I do. And it's. Again, I feel like last week I did a upcoming album that only has singles out, but I'm going to do it again for a Halloween release. There is a new album coming out, a new collaborative album coming out by Chat Pile and Hayden Pendico. Hayden is a like the best I can describe him as is a ambient Americana artist. Who does like very cool like experimental adjacent ambient folk guitar type work. And he is doing a collaborative, or did a collaborative album with Chat Pile, who are a band I've talked about on our end of year episode last year. They released one of my favorite records of last year. So this collab is like very up my alley because I enjoy both crushing sludge metal and ambient guitar. So they put out a single called Radioactive Dreams off their upcoming album In the Earth Again. I guess this was just like they happened to meet because Hayden now lives in Oklahoma City, where Chat Pile is based. They met up. They were like, we each like each other's stuff. Let's go squirrel ourselves away for a couple weeks and write a record. And they came out with what will be In the Earth Again, which I'm very excited about. But it sounds pretty much like the midpoint between the two artists, which I find very cool.
That is cool. I like a collaborative album.
Yeah, I'm stoked for this one. Yeah, what do you got?
I'm going to recommend the new La Dispute album, No One Was Driving the Car. That just came out last week. Or I guess it was released in kind of chunks throughout the year, but I saved it to listen to it all as one whole piece, and I think I'm glad that I did. This is a band that's been important to me for 15 or so years now. Saw them play a lot of basements and really small places and festivals in the Somewhere at the Bottom of the River era. And this, I have followed them closely since then. I think I was kind of out on Panorama, their last one. That one never really clicked for me, but this just feels like both a return to form and also an evolution of everything that they are as a band. The writing is amazing. Just thematically, the ideas that they're playing with on this album are so relevant to me right now. Just a lot about like identity and aging and the nature of who or what has control of your life and the things going on around you. And there are a couple moments on this record that just without spoiling anything, because these are kind of short stories in a lot of cases, and they kind of can be spoiled. There are a couple moments on this record that I think are legitimately jaw dropping, and highly recommend putting on some headphones and reading the lyrics and listening to this one.
Yeah, this record is something. Like what you said about it feeling like both a return to form and like also something completely different. Like it reminds me of the way that I felt about the new Armed album, honestly.
Yeah, that's a good comp.
Because I feel it is exactly how I feel about this La Dispute record. Like it is. I liked Rooms of the House a lot, and I enjoyed Panorama to some degree. But this is something else. This is like what I want from La Dispute. As both like a fan of the band and a person who like wants them to kind of keep iterating like experimenting with new stuff and doing like what they want to do. Because this sounds like a canonical release in their like kind of greater catalog. Like it doesn't necessarily sound 100% like anything they've done before, but it also like it feels so naturally like a fit in their kind of greater body of work.
Yeah, I agree, and we will be talking about this album more at the end of the year for sure.
No question. Yeah.
All right, that is it for this week then. We will be back next week starting our series on Bright Eyes with the first Bright Eyes record, a collection of songs written and recorded in 1995 to 1997. We are going to be doing Bright Eyes and a couple of Conrad Oberst sort of curiosities and side projects to take us basically to the end of the year. Yeah, we're saving the Christmas album for our just before Christmas episode. But yeah, that's what's coming up. Bright Eyes is kind of a really interesting artist or band, I guess, to talk about. Some blind spots, some albums that are super important to me. I think, Matt, that's about the same for you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. And cool. So that's what we're doing coming up. And in the meantime, follow us on Instagram at noisefloorpod and find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com. And we will see you next week.
See you next week.